Welcome to David Tom Creations channel. Today I'm doing a kind of review of the Nektar Impact LX61 Plus, which I just had for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to show how it works with Logic Pro X 10.5, because there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of YouTube content covering this particular keyboard with Logic. So it does integrate quite well with some plugins, but not others. So sometimes it's a bit hit and miss, as you'll see, as to what the faders and the knobs actually control. It's not always obvious what they're going to do, and some of them are linked specifically. And actually work, so the cutoff will affect the cutoff and the resonance, LFO. So yeah, but that said, it's not always very clear what what's going to actually happen. But I mean, they've done their best, I suppose. Like I said, as you can see, I've got a few tracks here. I've got one using retro synth, one using Complete Control's Analog Dreams. I've got one with Analog Lab, and a couple of more Apple studio horns and studio strings. And I've also done a track using the keyboard just to show how it kind of sounds. So so hopefully you'll find this useful, because like I said, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of video content out there. Like I said, this particular keyboard, the LX61 Plus, is a great deal at the moment. I got this for £110 from scan.co.uk, and there's a few other places selling it around about the same price. So yeah, for a 61 key controller, that's pretty good. And obviously you've got your 9 faders, 8 knobs, 8 pads, and the pads go up 3 octaves, and for some reason the fourth one is just the same as the first one. So these are quite good. The pads are quite good, quite responsive, and it's a nice key bed. Full size keys, semi-weighted, and they've got a nice kind of action. So so let's crack on. Right, here we are in Logic. Like I said, I've set up a few different tracks. So we are in. So this is a retro synth. This is one of Apple's own plugins, and it's kind of 80s vibe. So like I said, you can use so the pads are they just go up 1 full octave, so and then you switch to next colour, and then up again, and then back to. So like I said, I don't know why it doesn't go up. Anyway, so for this particular plugin, the faders and the knobs control various parts of this. Like I said, it's for instance, this is the cutoff, so it is actually controlling the cutoff. So And these are actually matched. You've got cut-off, resonance, envelope, amount, LFO. So the LFO should control the LFO, if you can see that. Which is quite cool. And then that is controlling the envelope amount, which is actually ties up with the keyboard. Not really doing an awful lot. And then resonance is controlling that part of the cutoff. So yeah, quite cool. And like I said, the faders are always doing something. I think they're controlling down here actually. So. Yeah, you can see that's controlling the amp envelope. And yeah, it controls the whole kind of thing really. And I think this one does the filter, yeah, so these are controlling the filter envelope. That's pretty cool. And then the mod wheel is quite cool. So yeah, so like I said, it's actually quite, it's pretty much controlling this whole particular plugin. The Apple ones are probably definitely the best, I think, because it's obviously they've integrated it more with, with Apple's own presets. Analog Dreams, so I'm not really sure. The knobs certainly work, but I don't think the faders are not really doing anything because there's nothing really to control. So yeah, so I can use the blend. And like I say, these are going to control pretty much the whole. They're just going to work in order, so they don't really apply to the. So for instance, this is the cutoff on the keyboard, but it's not actually affecting the cutoff. So like I said, it's just it just depends on the And then this last one, so yeah, controls the volume. And the mod wheel controls the cutoff. Or cutoff A, I should say. Yeah, so that cutoff actually, yeah, that's cutoff B. And that is the mod wheel. So yeah, so like I said, that's a fairly straightforward plugin. So it's mapped pretty well to those. I said obviously there's nothing you know, for the faders to do. So yeah, Analog Lab is pretty good as well actually. So you can control these with the faders. It only seems to work in part 1 because this is a multi-instrument. It doesn't seem to work in part 2. So for instance, if I move one of these, you can see that envelope decay is moving. If I go to part 2, it doesn't do anything at all. So yes, that's a bit annoying. But apart from that, so yeah, so this is and at least you can actually obviously see which notes you're playing as well here, which is quite useful. And then you can see so that yeah, so that's kind of middle C, and obviously you can play chords, C major, so yeah, so that's the keys have got a nice kind of feel. I've changed the velocity to softer than the standard one. And it has about 4 levels of velocity adjustment, so I kind of prefer the softer touch. And the mod wheel works okay. And then we've got, so that is oscillator, so it is actually controlling the oscillator. As you can hear. And what have we got? Reverb. No, that's effects. So that's oscillator mode 1 is controlling the effects. And that. Oscillator mode 2 is controlling the delay mix. So this is what I was saying, you're not entirely sure what's going to control what on some of these, but I mean and obviously these are grayed out, so so we'll see what, yeah, so that's the timbre, so the cutoff is controlling the timbre, so there's no actual sense to this at all, but hey ho. And then we've got the faders, so that is attack. So that is actually the envelope VCA attack. So and this is the decay, which is controlling the decay. So these are mapped pretty well. And the great thing about this is you can obviously use you know, 2 at the same time, or 3 if you want, if you're clever. If you're really clever. So yeah, so the sustain. So this is mapped pretty well actually. Because that's sustain and release, and that is what it's saying on here. Release. Yeah. So we've got attack, delay, decay, sustain, release, attack, decay, sustain, release. So yeah, so it's quite nice just to muck about with these faders and see what you can get. And if you switch to, so we're in an instrument mode, if you switch to mixer, it will switch over, and then you can water track it on 3. So you can actually mute tracks and also solo tracks. So you just press the master button and it'll solo, and you can just press, first is just mute, so you can mute. So that's really nice, because I'm always muting and soloing tracks. So yeah, so that is quite cool. And if we switch back to instrument, this will pop back up if you hadn't closed it down. So yeah. Now the only thing, the patch controls, so you can switch between patches, and it doesn't always work. It really does depend on the plugin. Like for instance, if I would expect it to go to obviously Sweep Rise, but it doesn't. It goes down to there. So and if I switch it back, it doesn't go, and it goes to some completely random preset. So I don't really know why it's not working, like, because on the Apple ones it seems to work better, but this is just completely random. Like I said, you just get a completely random. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's doing, but so that's a bit annoying. So you've still got to kind of do this manually, and switch back and forward. So yeah, I don't know, it's maybe just the way that they've kind of set the patches up. So obviously you can use your keyboard. Hang on, there we go. Yeah, so you're better off just using your keyboard. But like I said, it does work on some. So if I close this down and we open, if I open one of Apple's retro synths, so hopefully, so the next one on this would be Deep Square Bass. So if I go there, you can actually see it has gone to Deep Square Bass, and then Detune Bass, and it is actually going through them alphabetically in that category. And when it comes to the end, it should switch to. So if I go to Vintage Attack, which is the last one, and if I hit the next one, it should go to Strings, which is the next folder of patches. So this works really well, and like I said, the Apple ones do seem to be better integrated, as opposed to things like Analog Lab and also Complete Control. So you're still having to use, it just depends on which one you're in. So and like I said, you can just, so it's really useful to have to avoid keeping going to the those is probably much the same. Yeah, I mean, Let's see, right, so this is the cutoff, and it is actually controlling the cutoff. So this should be the resonance, which it is, so this one works fine. It's actually... and then, what have we got? Right, that's not doing anything. LFO, not doing anything. Let's see if we can... Right, where's the attack? Let's see if the faders work. Right, attack, no, attack, yeah, so right, so the first one, so yeah, so that first fader is and release, let's try it, yeah, so release, so these are working, so again, it's just all a bit of a trial and error really. So like I said, so these knobs are working the top row and the faders are working the bottom row. So yeah, so you do spend a lot of time trying to figure it out depending on the plugin. But like I said, for instance, the Analog Lab one is quite a complicated plugin, and it is actually controlled most of it. The only thing is the patches just don't work. So if somebody knows why, they can let me know. But anyway, so yeah, so there you go. Well, like I said, it's a nice. Let's just return that to. Yeah, so it's got a nice feel to it. So yeah, so I'll play this. This is the track I did using this. Can we actually get the mixer out of the way by using that? There we go. Alright, can we get that's the one. That's the one. Here we go. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything for bringing up the piano roll. Well, I haven't found it anyway. It's maybe a shift something. Talking the shift thing. So if you want to get the transport right back to the beginning, you shift and hit the loop key, and then you can it'll go. If you hit the kind of fast forward, it'll go one bar at a time, or you can keep your finger on it and it'll scroll through. So yeah, so it's a bit annoying that you can't just hit a key. So that puts the loop on, but you can't just hit one key for it to go right back to the beginning, which is kind of what you do quite a lot. So anyway, I mean, I prefer the M32 that I've got has a scroll wheel, and you can actually move the playhead using that, and it's really, I think that's a lot better. I mean, which they had plenty of space for up here, just to have a control for some of that instead of these, which is a bit slower. Right? So you're going through a bar at a time. It's going to take you ages. So yeah, so at least I can play this and record and stop, whatever. So I'll play this. Just gives you an idea how the keyboard, the velocity and everything works. it actually says play on the, just in case you didn't realise you were playing. So yeah, so there we go. Like I said, it's got a nice feel to playing the keyboard. Certainly compared to my M32, which has got, you know, mini keys and more synth action keys. So, but yeah, like I said, this is very nice. So yeah, so hopefully you've kind of found that informative. And like I said, this does work with obviously all the major DAWs, Ableton, Cubase, Studio One, FL, Reason, whatever. And obviously you download specific kind of mapping. You kind of register. Once you've registered, you can go onto Nektar's website and download a specific mapping file for whichever DAW you're using. And like I said, I got this for 110, which is only about it's only about £10 dearer than the 149, the LX49 Plus. So yeah, so it's, you might as well just get the 61, to be honest, unless you're really restricted for space. It gives you, you know, another octave on the keyboard. But yeah, so like I said, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.